Hi, moving on to Workshop C. I'm Richard Fisher, and I'd like to thank Tom Lickis, particularly for his help in steering our happy band, which was about 2/3 publishers, 1/3 not, through potentially the most inchoate of all the topics, I think, of the workshop sessions, global research collaboration. And we started with the fairly obvious point about the uncertainty of things, or what Harold Macmillan would have called events, dear boy, events, as shapers of international research collaboration. And the key questions, obviously, we started were how much collaboration goes on now, how much is a good thing, what form does this take? Conscious, I think, that getting people to collaborate along the same corridor would at least be a start, as well as more ambitious forms of international or global research collaboration. Who's driving this collaboration? What's the place of funders and publishers? And there was a lot of discussion, obviously, about those kind of fairly structural issues without inevitably being able to come to any hard conclusions. However, we did come to certain sorts of recommendation, I think, in terms of thinking how you can drive these agendas forward, where you want to, and what, more importantly, possibly, are the discrete roles of publishers, funders, and others in this process. And I have to confess that the group was divided about that. There were some very strongly that publishers should be taking a leading role, others rather more sceptical. However, certain things. Intelligence gathering across fields to map out the present state of collaboration across topics and geographies. The provision of discipline-focused platforms to encourage or facilitate collaboration, that's a much more question mark hanging there. The role, I think, really good one actually, this one is publishers' role in improving multi-language accessibility, particularly around abstracts, messaging, that kind of thing. Provision of really basic multilingual data to enable much greater simple use of what we already do, leading, one hopes, to greater international collaboration. And obviously the key question is the extent to which publishers, funders and others should work together to facilitate research and information along these lines. I mean, those were the broad trajectories that the group discussed. Very conscious, obviously, of some of the constraints on this, and some of the ones very important but often much less articulated around regulation, around the different ethical protocols, for example, that apply in different jurisdictions, which impact on this, but also conscious at the moment of potential funding flows globally and what and whose interests it will be to try and access those and secure a particular funding sources for particular projects. But overall, I mean, it was an interesting, I hope, 3 hours for those involved. I think we are, as I say, legitimately at the mercy of events in all this, but there are things, I think, particularly around language, around intelligence gathering, around thinking about the way in which genuinely global disciplinary fora work, where publishers particularly and funders could work together much more closely and internationally to move this forward. For the UK members of the panel, obviously there's an immediate problem in the sense that our historic access to various Brussels-based funding platforms and things is about to disappear, and that's a challenge we'll face in due course. Thank you.